More than 30 students watched a deaf classmate get bullied. I was one of them. Nobody stepped in to stop it. Some of us knew it was wrong, but nothing changed. Years later, I realized something uncomfortable. The bullies weren't the only reason it continued. Psychologists have a name for what happened in that classroom: the bystander effect. The bystander effect is when a person needs help, but because many people are around, nobody steps in. People often assume someone else will do something, so the victim ends up receiving less help, not more. And this doesn't just happen in classrooms. You can see it online when a video of someone being bullied or humiliated goes viral, and most people choose to watch rather than help. You can see it in workplaces when a manager makes inappropriate jokes and nobody speaks up. The bystander effect isn't just about witnessing danger. It's about witnessing a problem and waiting for someone else to deal with it. One of the most famous examples happened in New York City in 1964. A young woman named Kitty Genovese was attacked outside her apartment. News reports claimed 38 people watched and did nothing, a story later found to be exaggerated. But the public outrage it caused pushed psychologists John Darley and Bib Latane to study the phenomenon in controlled experiments. And what they found was real. People were consistently less likely to help when others were present. But this raises an important question. Why do ordinary people sometimes fail to help when they know something is wrong? The answer isn't that people don't care. In fact, several psychological forces can turn ordinary people into bystanders. First, diffusion of responsibility. There were more than 30 students in my classroom. I assumed someone else would step in, but everyone else was probably thinking the same thing. When responsibility is shared among many people, nobody feels personally responsible. Second, social proof. When I looked around, many of my classmates were laughing or treating the bullying like a joke. Because nobody seemed concerned, it became easier to believe that the situation wasn't that serious. We often look to other people to decide how to react. Third, social pressure. I actually did tell some classmates that the bullying wasn't right, but they brushed it off and told me it was just fun. When everyone around you treats something as normal, it's easy to doubt your own judgment. Fourth, cost-benefit analysis. Most of the students involved were people I knew and spent time with. The deaf student wasn't part of my friend group. Without realizing it, I was weighing the social cost of getting involved against the benefit of helping. Doing nothing seemed easier than risking conflict. These forces influenced us, but they didn't control us. So how do we overcome them? Let me tell you another story. In 2007, a 9th grade student was bullied for wearing a pink shirt to school. Two older students, David Shepard and Travis Price, decided to take a stand. They bought 50 pink shirts and handed them out to classmates. The next day, hundreds of students came to school wearing pink. It was described as a sea of pink. The bullies were never heard from again. This story became a famous example of how a few people taking action can influence an entire group. So what can we learn from it? First, be aware of the bystander effect. When you understand how it works, you're more likely to recognize it in yourself. Second, prepare in advance. Research shows that training can help people recognize emergencies and respond more effectively. When people already know what to do, they are less likely to freeze or assume that someone else will act. Third, be a moral rebel. When something is wrong, have the courage to speak up or take action, even if others don't. And finally, make direct requests. Instead of asking a crowd for help, ask a specific person. Hey, you in the black shirt? Call an ambulance. Direct requests make people feel personally responsible and more likely to act. Looking back, that's exactly what my teacher did. After the bullying was reported, he moved the deaf student away from the students who were bullying him. Then he gave a nearby student a specific responsibility. If anyone mocks or touches him, tell me directly. Responsibility was no longer shared among more than 30 students. One person now had a clear responsibility to act, and the bullying stopped. The Sea of Pink story teaches a similar lesson. 2 students decided to act. Others followed. Maybe that's the real lesson of the bystander effect. Most people aren't waiting for permission. They're waiting for someone to go first. Be an upstander, not a bystander. Like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means more than you think.